sure that yep. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to make sure everything is on, that you can hear me and all that kind of good stuff. I think so. Hey, Curtis, what's going on? Oh, you're a new member, man. Hey, thanks for the new membership, man. BM, appreciates that. Just like me, he thought I was a member all along. So same goes to you. Hey, listen, man. I know we saw the thumbnail, and I'm gonna be kind of concentrating more on the law of the First Amendment as opposed to just Charlie Kirk. Even though we're gonna touch upon some of that, but that's not the main focus here. Because I think we should have a good conversation. Just depending on anybody want to come up on just how many people are getting the First Amendment when it comes to free speech wrong. Either it's willful ignorance or it's just plain ignorance. And I have this conversation with a lot of, I guess, friends who are on the other side of the aisle. And one of the things I think everybody is missing, because some people have Trump derangement syndrome, and I'm not a big lover of Trump. I just like his policies better than the other side. But the point really is, the whole world is energized, and this experiment that we're going through with Trump in office is a great opportunity for learning civics and how the levers of power work, and how they bounce off of each other. I think a lot of people are missing it because they're too emotionally involved in one side or the other. So, but if independent, and you see how things are working, the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive branch, and how so many things are going through the court system up to the Supreme Court and other things like that, or the fact that the states are in open rebellion against the federal government in the red states, and how come, and the reason why they can be in terms of law enforcement. It's kind of interesting in figuring that shit out. Right, because they are not mandated for the local police to actually honor the federal government, and there's reasons for that. And I don't know all of them, but the federal government can't override that, not without new legislation and things of that nature. So there's a certain amount of autonomy that the states have that the federal government has to force themselves on them, especially in the sanctuary cities. That's why we're having so much turmoil. In the red states, we don't have no such turmoil. The police honor those retainers from the federal government, and they can pick up the illegal aliens from jail and courtrooms. But in the blue states, they can't. So getting back to the First Amendment, I guess Charlie Kirk assassination is a catalyst for us to look at the First Amendment. And free speech is just one aspect of the First Amendment. I mean, there's rights to petition the government. You also have freedom of religion and a few other things. And so we're going to go through. And listen, I'm no scholar at this, so but some of this stuff is just common sense. All the people. Let's, for example, and I'm gonna just go hit it right now. So, well, let me go ahead and read this. Curtis first. Hey, thanks, Curtis, for the 199. Good afternoon, Mr. Boomer. I appreciate that. Good afternoon to you and anybody else who's just might be listening but hasn't hit the chat. Anybody here listening, just go ahead and hit the chat. Say hello. That's one thing I have to get better at. So I'm glad you're here, Curtis. You'll make sure I don't mute myself and start talking into the ether like an idiot. I'm gonna blame that shit on being old, by the way. So you got to take your advantages when they happen. But anyway, so one of the things is that we're just going back to the point of folks getting fired from their jobs and thinking that somehow their free speech has been violated, and it has not, because free speech, but in that part of the First Amendment, is to protect you from the government. Even though that doesn't work as well as it should, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But the fact that you get fired is not a free speech issue. It's because you are embarrassing the companies that you work for. And the fact is that those companies are private entities, and they have the right to get rid of your ass if you espouse things that they don't agree with. I mean, it's really just that simple. And it amazes me how many people get that shit wrong. It really, really does. It's crazy. You know how many people get that wrong. You know, so uh, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We don't have to really dwell on it, but I have some examples as we go through here. We're going to talk about Shiloh Hendricks, and we'll hit a couple of other things that. Let me see my examples. I want to let y'all know what they are. Shiloh Hendricks is an example that we could talk about. The Office Max ladies and why they got fired. And that juxtaposed to the guy who was asked to do a gay wedding cake and why he won his case and why these Office Max ladies, even if they own the business, they wouldn't have won theirs. Jimmy Kimmel and the FCC, and then Destiny, his recent blow up, kind of advocating for the liberals to be able to use any means necessary, even violence, to quash conservative speech. So, and for that, he got some ramifications, and we'll cover that as well. Okay, Big Ops, how you doing? Good thing they brought Kimmel back. All right, I didn't know that. So that's news. And I didn't see that. So if you got more details, put that up here. So I know at the time of me doing this, I didn't see anything on Kimmel coming back. And who's they, by the way? Who's they? Is that ABC? Is that Disney? Well, which is the same thing, but it's the affiliates. Is he going to be in every market? So who's they? So do me a favor and put that back there. And if you have a source that says that he's back, I'd appreciate that. So right now I'm gonna go by him not being back, and really it doesn't matter whether he's back or not. We can still talk about why he got ousted. But I do have some mixed emotions on that as well. I'm gonna get this. Let me get rid of that. All right, so this one's for you. So if you got some other information you could provide a Big Op, that'll be great. All right, so let's go ahead and continue. Now let's go ahead and get into. I got a brief video about the First Amendment, and I think it's cursory. I showed it here once before. I'm gonna do it again, and just so we can all be on the same page on what it entails. Okay, so when you say ABC brought them back, every affiliate or just because they still have to go through those one statements, is he back on everywhere? That's what I want to know. So, but anyway, let's just assume he is for the sake of conversation. So that's interesting. So I'm gonna have something to look at after we're over. Not that it's really a big deal to me. I tell you the truth, it really isn't. But that's really interesting that they backpedal so much, and maybe rightfully so. Who knows? Okay, so let's just get started on the first clip I want to show. It's just in general that most people already know, but let's go ahead and talk about it. Before I get started, I'm gonna have to share it. All right, let me share this. I can't load the way I would normally load things here, but that's all right. Here we go.
The First Amendment protects freedoms of speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition. This sounds straightforward, but the First Amendment is still the subject of continuing interpretation and dispute. So let's look at the freedom of speech, which gives Americans the right to express themselves without fear of government interference. There are a number of categories of unprotected speech, including obscenity, true threats, incitement to imminent lawless action, and defamation. But deciding what speech falls within these categories is difficult. In reaching these determinations, courts often look at speech on a case-by-case basis and consider the context in which the speech was made. For instance, political speech, support or opposition of political figures, parties, and/or policies, enjoys stronger First Amendment protection.
See, that's key, right? Because we're in a political environment, and it's hyped up to maximum, right? And even though the assassination is not on par with what the right has done in retaliation, and that's why I can't get into tit for tat. There's just no doubt that political speech on both sides is ratcheted up to where they can't hardly even work together. So there's a lot of things being said on both sides that's actually protected. It's actually protected. So everything that Charlie Kirk was saying was absolutely protected by law, and so forth and so on. Even Ilhan Omar, who is actually, I believe, an infiltrator to our Congress, and she's more beholden to the Somalis than she is to the United States. But that's no different than a whole bunch of people who have dual citizenship, who hold their country more dear than they hold ours, and some of them have no compunction not to take that back. So there we are. So we have it. We have very wide latitude to say what the hell we want to.
If speech is political in nature, no matter how outrageous and offensive it might be, it may still be protected by the First Amendment. So, yeah, this gets complicated. The First Amendment protects you from government punishment for what you say in most instances. However, the First Amendment is not unlimited. It protects you from government action, not the action of private organizations or people. Unless you're employed by the government, complaining about your boss could get you fired. Similarly, since social media websites are for the most part private entities, they're the only ones who can police posts on their respective sites.
All right. So we know everybody on YouTube and any of these social media outlets absolutely know that they can censor you at will without even giving you a good explanation. And it should be it should be common sense that you can't, berate and belittle and demean your boss without ramification. Well, you won't get put in jail unless you threaten or you do something of a threatening nature, but you damn sure can get fired, and you don't have any free speech protection on there. Well, you're free, but the consequences are all yours, and you have no redress. So there you have it. And we all know about YouTube, and we all know about how Twitter was before Elon Musk bought it and turned it to X. And right now it's a free for all. Some people hate the fact that it's a free for all, but some people think that's better than what the liberals in Twitter before Elon Musk was doing by quashing anything that was right of what they thought it should be.
Similar to freedom of speech, freedom of the press allows people to express themselves through publication. This important freedom enables our journalists and reporters to freely report news and stories of public interest. But this also comes with some limitations. For instance, defamatory statements are not protected. Again, though, what constitutes defamation also requires a fact-intensive investigation. In addition, the First Amendment protects our right to peacefully assemble or gather together as a group for like-minded social, economic, political, or religious purposes.
And you know what? If you notice when she talked about defamation, and I'm gonna give you the 5 steps to that. She didn't talk about whether you tell the truth or you're lying as being something that's not protected or not, or maybe I missed that. She didn't specifically say if you lie about a fact or something like that, misinformation, disinformation, those kind of things. Can the government come after you for that? And the truth of the matter is, I think that's a slippery slope, because I think the basic answer is no, right? And then, of course, they can put pressure on the platforms like they did to Zuckerberg during C-19 to quash anything that went against the government position on you know what, right? The jab and everything else.
The First Amendment also protects our right to protest the government. We are free to sign petitions or even file a lawsuit against the government as well. And lastly, in guaranteeing the freedom of religion, the First Amendment prohibits the government from establishing a state religion or from favoring one religion over the other.
All right, so we see where that's coming from, right? So I think we kind of understand. Well, you know what? For some people in this, I think they question a lot of stuff with free speech, or they just don't understand it. And yeah, then there's been a lot of conversations. If you're talking about disinformation and misinformation and lying, people talk about that all the time. And people try on the left and the right to see if they could stop people from doing it. And they certainly did it during 2020 and 2021. There was no doubt about it. You couldn't come up there and say, whatever you wanted. The platforms themselves were compelled to take your information down. Zuckerberg came out and admitted as much. So that's a fact. So there you go. Anyway, so let's go ahead on and talk a little bit more about what hate speech is, because we got another understanding about hate speech. Just calling somebody the N-word is not hate speech per se. It's threatening the people who are Black or whatever you call that subgroup or whatever. Threatening them and using a slur to threaten them is a different story. But just calling people, berating them, cursing at them, all that stuff is protected. So we're going to go ahead and show that clip about what is hate speech, and it's very, very subtle. And they're going to use the Ku Klux Klan as an example of what I'm talking about. All right. I'm gonna start this from scratch.
Reads, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. But just how free should this speech be? The 1969 case of Brandenburg v. Ohio is a prime example. Clarence Brandenburg was the leader of an Ohio chapter of the Ku Klux Klan. While Brandenburg's hateful speech rightly deserves condemnation, the court believed that censoring that speech would have been a greater threat to free society. The First Amendment ensures that government remains content neutral. It cannot favor or disfavor one idea, viewpoint, or message over another. Tolerating offensive speech, even so-called hate speech, is the mark of a free society. The only exception is speech that leads directly to violence. The antidote to hateful speech is more speech. That's how we preserve this most indispensable of freedoms.
So let me stop that. Okay, so let's just give the example of a lot of people who said they hated Charlie Kirk, for example, since he's fresh in our minds. One of the things he talked about was debate. He would have a position, maybe it's a good position, maybe it wasn't. And he would debate that with other people. Now, when he was debating students, it wasn't like a fair exchange because they didn't have the experience he had. But I didn't watch a lot of his debates with people who were older. And he did that. So some of his positions people didn't like. But the debate, just like this guy said, was the key, because he would say something and somebody would have a counterpoint and somebody would have a point and he would have to come up with a counterpoint. And those kind of conversations is something that we should have. Whether we change people's minds, it doesn't matter. Now, what's my man's name? Van Jones, who was an ultra liberal, came out and said after Charlie Kirk was killed, that he had a private message from Charlie Kirk saying, let's debate in the public forum. You know what I'm saying? And he says, as a gentleman to gentleman, I know if I could talk to you, we can go back and forth. He said this on CNN or one of these things. And it kind of shifted his thoughts that maybe this would have been a great debate to have And I'm not so sure how well Van Jones would do if he might start crying somewhere in the middle because he likes tears. But the point really is, hate speech is not just me saying something against a Jew or a black person or a transvestite or whatever the hell it is. Now, for example, if I wrote a SWAT sticker on a synagogue and I violated and vandalized a synagogue with some hate speech, that is protected. That's a crime. But if I had a flag with a SWAT sticker and I went down to Hasidim neighborhood flying that flag, I'm not committing a crime. Now, I might get my ass beat, or just like a Nazi going down a white supremacist going down Harlem when it used to be black with a lynched man picture, just waving the flag by himself. He's not coming out of there unscathed. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's not a crime. It's hate, but it's not a crime. So that's one. The other one is defamation. And I got a short video on that one. Just so, like I said, I wasn't going to sit down here and act like I'm an expert. But anybody who listens to what I'm saying today, I think we should kind of come to grips with some of this First Amendment thing. And, so we'll go through some examples of what I think, and maybe we could have a debate. What's going on, Trey, of course. Yeah, I don't. Hey. You don't care. All right, I hear you. So let's get rid of this. Let's go to the one about defamation. Okay. I think that's a good one that we could talk about. And these are short clips. And me, I like the clips because clips are better than me talking, I like these short clips. All right.
Security First Corp. Safety through knowledge.
What are the 5 elements of defamation? Defamation is a legal term that refers to the act of damaging someone's reputation through false statements. Understanding its elements is crucial for both individuals and organizations. The first element is the statement. For a claim of defamation to hold, there must be a statement made about someone. This statement can be written, known as libel, or spoken, referred to as slander. The second element is falsity.
As before we go through, now, if some of you guys might be familiar with the lady who was, hugged up against Usher at the concert, she was a divorced woman, and people put the rumor out there that she was married, and Unc Ocho and my man Shannon Sharp were the biggest platform pushing the fact that she was a married woman being subdued and eating cherries from Usher's hand. Now, think about these 5 points and think about that situation and think about why Shannon Sharp settled instead of going through court based on these 5 elements, because she did get certain notoriety. And her point was that this hurt her by saying she was a married woman up there grinding and doing whatever the hell she did with Usher. So here we go. Go through the 5 points. Well, the second, the first element. Let's just go back to the first element again.
The first element is the statement. For a claim of defamation to hold, there must be a statement made about someone. This statement can be written, known as libel, or spoken, referred to as slander.
All right. So the first statement was that this lady by name was married, and she was not married at the time. And that spread like wildfire over the internet.
The second element is falsity. The statement must be false. True statements, regardless of their impact, do not constitute defamation.
That's another one. It was a false statement. Now, there was no evidence that they did any extra research to find out whether the statement was true or not. They just went with it, just like everybody else on social media. But since Shannon Sharp had the money and the biggest platform, her point was that it did the most damage.
This distinction is vital in any defamation case. The third element involves publication. The statement must be communicated to a third party. If the statement is made privately and not shared, it typically does not meet this criterion. The fourth element is identification. The statement must identify the person or entity.
Oh, she was identified big time, right? She had her big back right up there, looking all sultry, eating the cherries out of Usher's hand, looking like, she would have banged him right there on the stage. And even though it was an act, the thing that stained her was the fact that they thought she was a married woman. As a single woman, you could do what the hell you want. And some of you damn feminists out there think that if you're a married woman, you can do what the hell you want, but you can't.
Being defamed. This can be direct, such as naming the individual, or indirect, where the identity is implied. The fifth element is harm. The statement must cause harm to the reputation of the individual or entity. This can include damage to professional standing, emotional distress, or financial loss.
Now, she said all of these things hurt her because people knew her name. It hit her reputation on her business. And, people were asking, are you really married? That kind of stuff. And she had to spend a lot of time saying that I'm not a married woman. So that pissed her off. And let me tell you, I'm going to finish this. I'll let it go. This is why Shannon Sharp settled, because I think she, and not just me, lead attorney said this as well. He thinks she would have won the case.
Understanding these 5 elements is essential for navigating the complexities of defamation. This knowledge can empower individuals and organizations to protect their reputations effectively.
All right, so there you have it. There you have it. You don't mess around unless you know what you're doing, man. Let me do this. Oh, what am I doing here? Let me do this. All right, so we're going through that. I just wanted to put that out there so I can say, he's talking to Anissa. What case was in it? Thanks for being here. All right, let me throw this out here as well, just in case. All right. But by the way, I just have to say, I think 100 is still busy doing his thing, trying to get his stuff together. Anyway, some error occurred. All right, so what's next? What's next? So I just wanted to cover hate speech and defamation. And there you go. So now we're all more educated on that. All right, so what is next? So there's some cases that we should cover and have a conversation with. I don't know if you wanted to come up, Trey, on these, or else I could just kind of riff on what I think about what these are. And we could just go for that. The first one that I want to talk about is Shiloh Hendricks. Everybody knows the white woman, Shiloh Hendricks, who, berated a boy that nobody has ever seen. And let me just go ahead and play the case and we can talk about it. Let me just put it up. Let me do this. All right. All right.
Permanent destruction of a person's life? Now, to the social media mob, the answer is always yes. By now, you may have heard the name Shiloh Hendricks. Up until last week, no one outside of her friends and personal acquaintances knew she existed. Now she's at the center of one of the more intense social media controversies that we've seen in recent years. And it all began in the late afternoon on April 28th, when the woman we now know as Shiloh Hendricks took her young child to a park in Rochester, Minnesota. And at some point, a black child, reportedly 5 years old, tried to steal something from her diaper bag. Shiloh apparently responded in anger, and as the story goes, she called the boy the N-word. Now, a man named Sharmaki Omar, a Somali immigrant and not the boy's father, allegedly witnessed this altercation and decided to pull out his phone. And the resulting video has gone extremely viral across every major social media platform. Here it is.
You call him the child? Did you call the child the word? It is my own business. You call him a Okay, why don't you have the boss to say it right now again? Okay. All right, that's what you say.
You don't go dig into people's you dumb.
Nobody dig into your
Which case you talking about? Are you talking about this Shiloh case? Trey, are you talking about the Shiloh case that was dismissed with prejudice? Because I didn't hear anything after the attorney, not attorney, but the DA charged her with 3 misdemeanors. So did they get it adjudicated, or are you talking about another case when you're talking about this one? I don't know. Got it. I got it. I thought so maybe the information that he settled was wrong, because I thought it was settled, and then they dismissed it because he settled. Anyway, that's just another thing. Maybe that's the second part of it. Anyway, on this one, and we saw enough of it. Let me go ahead and finish it because my man says a couple of things, but I don't think this is hate speech either. Right. So, but the problem is they try to charge her with this one.
That little kid, you call him the little child?
What if he acts like one? He's gonna.
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child 5-year-old and the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act.
That's what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
That's a hate speech, and you can be recorded for that.
I don't give a shit.
Huh. Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you.
Now, before we continue with the story, which takes several more twists and turns, we should note a few things. First of all, we don't actually know for sure that the boy is 5 years old. That's coming from the man filming, who is apparently not related to the child. In the video, we appear to get a glimpse of the kid, and from the glimpse anyway, he definitely looks older than 5. Omar has additionally claimed that the boy is autistic, which we also have no proof of. And we have no footage of the actual encounter between the kid and this woman. Did she scream the N-word in his face? Did she mutter it under her breath? Did she say it about the child after he'd already run away? We don't know. And as far as I've seen, we haven't heard anything from the boy's parents. We don't know where they were in all of this, if they were even there, which is very strange. So there are many aspects of this story that are bizarre and unconfirmed. And here's another disturbing detail. The Somali man behind the camera, Omar, was charged a couple of years ago with sexually assaulting a minor. And according to the local news...
Sorry for that. I know I went mute for a second. I got too many controls on a mute. Anyway, but yeah, like I said, the things that he's talking about, the kid, the autistic, his parents, those kind of things, nobody knows about. Now, this guy who was taking the camera,
channel KTTC, those charges were dismissed. A separate report by the local ABC affiliate adds that the charges were dismissed, quote, in the interest of justice.
So we leave it there because all that's besides the point. Back to Shiloh Hendricks. She got like $1 million worth of support from followers. And the truth of the matter is what she said wasn't really a crime. Right? It's hateful. It sounds bad, but it's not hate speech in terms of a criminal act. But so they try to charge her because they bowed to pressure anyway. And they said, well, the criminal complaint states that Hendricks unlawfully engaged in offensive or abusive language that would reasonably tend to arouse alarm, anger, and resentment. That's every goddamn day on CNN. That's every damn day on TV. That's every day. Every single day when we have opposing views, somebody's angry about it. Somebody resents it, right? I mean, so that charge is goddamn bogus. You know, it's crazy. I mean, so they just try to chum up shit so they can feed the chum to the sharks, right? Because people are the stupid people are aroused, alarmed, and aroused every goddamn day. 24/7, all over social media. So it's a real bogus charge, and I'm not protecting this woman at all. But is she distasteful? Yeah, but we got to be careful because it's a slippery slope. People say distressful and disparaging shit all the time. I mean, all the time. You can't just start locking up people because you don't like what they said. So I hear you, Big Op. I know you trying to say something different, but no, going by the 5 steps of defamation, she absolutely did not. But going by the definition, she did. What definition? What definition? Oh, you talking to Trey. Maybe there's something else you're looking at. So anyway, I'll let Trey talk to you back and forth. But anyway, so that's the Shallow case. I don't think I think her charges, I don't think she's going to spend 1 minute in jail, or anything like that. So we can end that one. So she's not gonna, there's no problem there. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the Office Max ladies and why they got fired. Right? The two the Office Max ladies, the bullshit that they were talking, and they got fired.
So we came in for an order earlier to print a poster for a vigil tonight.
Yeah, so
for somebody that passed.
propaganda.
It's not.
It's propaganda. I'm sorry, we don't print that here.
Alrighty. So, what's your name?
I'm print supervisor.
I'm one of the managers.
Yes.
So, unfortunately,
So they say they don't print
we don't
political
print.
propaganda. So this is somebody that passed away a couple years ago.
That's political propaganda, unfortunately. I'm
So
sorry.
this is for a prayer tonight, for a prayer vigil.
It's still propaganda, unfortunately.
What makes it propaganda?
Because he's a political figure, and I don't have to. Yeah.
Our general manager is going to be in on Monday. If you
No, it's totally
further on the
we have-
subject,
we have
if you would like to,
you're welcome to receive.
All right, so we know that these ladies got fired. And one of the things they got fired for is because they were representing Office Depot, not themselves. So their political views had no bearing on whether they should have printed out those whatever needed to be printed out. And by them arbitrarily saying, get the hell out of here, we're not going to do it, got them fired, and rightfully so. And even if they own the business, on a basis of why they wouldn't patronize, why they didn't take the patronage of the guy who wanted to write these vigil stuff, I think they would have still lost that case because being prejudiced is not protected. That's the same thing as saying, listen, you're black. I'm not gonna serve you at the counter. Now, as opposed to the guy, and Trey, I'll get with you, as opposed to the case where the guy would not do a gay wedding cake because he won based on religious preferences, not free speech. And on the free speech, the court was a little bit silent because on that issue, him doing the cake was a tacit approval that he agrees with that kind of lifestyle, and he didn't. But that's not how he won the case. He won the case on religious grounds. These two big backs who wouldn't print out this guy's information. Well, they didn't have any such thing to stand on. It wasn't based on religion or anything else. It's just their political preferences. That's just not protected. So they would have been in trouble both ways if they would have got sued. That's my opinion. What's going on, Trey? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's good?
All right. So
over here having a conversation with the softie.
Yeah, no, I see that. That's why I got out of it. I'm glad you got that.
Yeah, because they want to use this definition. Black people only want to use the definition when it's beneficial to them. Nobody gives a shit about hate speech. Nobody cares. Right. I can't tell you how many times we tried to find out if something was a hate crime or not. If it didn't, if nobody was hurt, we took a report and we kept it moving. Nobody gives a shit. Oh, your feelings hurt. You called a kid a nigger. So you're gonna hear a whole lot worse growing up, I promise you.
And no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Name calling is ignorant. Get over it. Nobody can grow up. This is the world we live in. People gonna call you names. This is the issue. Like these. I don't know what generation this person is in. I can't tell you, but this like softy sort of like, oh, you hurt my feelings. You can't call me names. And like this is why they crash out. This is why they crash out and they start shooting each other. They can't handle anything, bro. They can't handle anything. They can't. When I was growing up, so you know how you used to get to school, you got to school early. Before you had to go to class, you might have breakfast, whatever, but you was hanging out until school started, really. That was the Jones session. That was the roast session. Like everybody was getting roasted first thing in the morning.
I know.
That's how it started. Now some people call it, jonesing on each other. We call it joning on each other or dirty does, whatever you want to call it. But this whole idea, like you can't say anything. This Office Depot thing is different. They were clearly trying to take a stand. Like that's what this was about. We're gonna take a stand. We're gonna make a spectacle out of this rather than just doing our job. We're gonna say that this is propaganda when in actuality it wasn't. And let me tell you something. Office Depot is not going to risk losing their business and getting sued over firing two people. So I guarantee you, they sat down with their lawyers and said, "Do we have the right to fire these people? Can we fire them?" And the lawyers went back into their little big old office that they have, sat down, went through the laws, went through the hate speech stuff, and said, "Yeah, you can fire them. You're good. All the HR laws and all that. Yeah, you're good. You're covered. You can fire them." Yeah, that's it. At the end of the day, they didn't follow the rules. Do your job. Exactly. Everybody's so worried about you. You know the shit I was called when I was a police officer?
Right.
People who look like me, black people who look like me, the things that they would come out of their mouth, the things they would say. Like, grow a pair. It's a thicker skin.
That's some funny shit. Okay, so listen, one of the things that I know whatever their lawyers say, that shit was quick because that was an easy one. The next one I was going to show was Jimmy Kimmel. Now, I heard he got his job back, but I don't know the details of that.
Yeah, they brought him. It actually came out today. They brought him back today.
Well, let's kind of go through, and maybe that's good that we know that much information because let's go up to why they got rid of him. Well, what happened here? Okay. All right, so let me do this. Let me get rid of that. Get rid of that. And go to Jimmy. Let's go through a little bit of what he said.
The weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from.
Here's everything you need to know about the off-key monologue that got Jimmy Kimmel's show pulled indefinitely. The controversy began during Monday's show when the late-night comic started off by claiming that MAGA was using Charlie Kirk's assassination to score political points.
So let's just jump right into it, right? A couple things happened, right, Trey? And we don't need to. We heard it 1,000 times. Okay. So let me ask you this. Let me do this. Now, the FC, two things were going on, probably kind of simultaneously. The FCC chairman kind of offhandedly threatened Disney and all of their parent companies with pulling their license, kind of. He didn't say it, but he was intimating that. And based on what Kimmel said, yeah, he stretched some of the truth because they found out information that the kid, his parents might have been conservative, but he got off the conservative plantation, and he had enough evidence. So then affiliates started to saying we're not going to show Kimmel, and they got rid of him. So there's two parts to this. The affiliates could get rid of Kimmel because it was an economic move. They thought they were going to get into this tailspin. But the FCC chairman talking about pulling ABC's license, I think that's a big issue with free speech because they didn't like what Kimmel was saying. And I have a feeling that threat right there might have been one of the reasons why they changed back, because I think they had the bar of pulling somebody's commercial license to be on the airways is huge. That's huge. And that is the government infringing upon free speech. So what say you?
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Jimmy Kimmel at all.
No, neither am I, but still.
I think he's a sucker personally, but I didn't agree with his show being canceled.
Okay.
And I do believe in free speech and no, although I didn't like what he had to say, some of it was kind of true.
Right.
I didn't like what he had to say. I don't think he should have been yanked off the air, but the issue is that people don't understand how the FCC works. So the FCC reports to Congress. Last time I checked, Congress is red right now. So what other decisions do you think was going to happen?
But the chairman still has. The chairman still has totally free reign to make that decision.
They report to Congress.
And you got a couple of cameras, big op. You know, can you?
The Congress at the moment is red. And I don't know how the midterms are going to go. We'll see how that goes. But as of right now, we're living in a red Congress. So I can see where they put some pressure on him. But I'm not saying I'm happy that he got his show back because again, I don't like him. I don't care for him. But in the fairness of free speech, I think he should have his show. He should be able to say the things that he wants to say.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, like I said, I thought the FCC chairman put an extra wrinkle in this as opposed to ABC and the affiliates doing what they do. Okay, big ops, man. I see you in the chat, man. Welcome aboard. Have you been up here before?
No, I see the show from time to time.
All right, man. What say you?
So, just going off the stuff that you was talking about, I was just trying to stick to that. Let me know if my audio falters or anything like that, please.
Yeah, it's kind of loud, but go ahead. We hear you. I don't have any problem.
Okay. I can turn it down a little bit. My bad. So, I was trying to stick to just the definitions and everything that you said. So, as you look at the definition of hate speech, where the woman who you showed did allegedly, because I do agree with the guy in the video, I forget his name, but we didn't see nobody, we didn't see no parents respond to none of that. So we don't know if it was necessarily some kind of skit that they tried to do and all that. So I try to pay attention to stuff like that. But sticking to what you said about the definition, looking up the definition, that would be considered hate speech. Now, in the definition from what I've seen, it doesn't say anything about trying to get somebody to do anything violent, but it's just saying something against somebody because of their race, nationality, gender, and things of that nature. So that's what I was telling Trey. If we're just sticking to that, then that would be considered hate speech.
No, I think that there's a part of the definition that you ain't looking at. There's no crime there. There's no intent to harm. And that's why they try to add on to criminal activity, the hate moniker. If somebody's beating you up and they're calling you a nigger, they try to add on a charge as opposed to somebody just beating you up and assaulting you. As if it's worse, and you're still getting your ass beat. But if they beating you, calling you an N-word, that's a different charge. That's an additional charge to them just beating you up. Now, there's no evidence that she was going to be violent to this kid or not. So, and even if you listen to that video, there's a commission of a crime that makes it like the synagogue example. There's a crime there, right? That you hate the Jews and all that kind of and writing it on their synagogue. There's a crime there. So if I
Yeah,
just
but see,
if I just threw a can of red paint on a synagogue and just so I could mess up their white cobblestone, I think that's a little different than if I put "I hate the Jews" and "death to the Jews" from the something to the sea. You know, I mean,
but see, but those definitions. I'm sorry to cut you off, but this is where we gotta lineate to different things. So what you're talking about, from my understanding, saying from exactly what you said and the definition. Now we're switching it from hate speech to hate definition, and maybe you can pull it up so we can stay on point with it, or I can make sure I'm correct. But
let me go. I can go back through the definition again.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can just pull up the regular definition with Google, whatever. So when I'm looking at the actual,
Go ahead, because you might not be able to see it. I don't know if you have a screen there or whatever, but
okay. So when we talk about hate speech, from the definition, from what I've seen, is just something you saying against somebody because of their race. Now, hate crime is when you did it because of their race, and then you're committing a crime. So that's what I'm trying to make sure I stay on, is what the definitions actually mean. So when you show those things, I'm going after the actual definition. Get what I'm saying?
Let me ask you, how do you know it's a hate crime unless I express something against your race or your gender or anything like that? How do you know why I'm attacking you is based on your gender, your race, or your religion, unless I actually say something to express that?
Well, then I would have to go back and question you what you said. If you said somebody threw red paint on the synagogue, that would be more hateful than somebody calling a child the N-word.
No. I said, and listen close. I said, if I just do red paint on the synagogue, I'm vandalizing the synagogue, but you can't say I did it because I hate Jews. I just vandalized a building.
Okay.
But if I wrote,
that's just vandalism. I agree.
Right. If I wrote "I hate Jews" in red paint and said, that's the hate crime.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. I agree, and that's what I'm saying. I agree. So my bad.
So
Go
in
ahead.
the Shiloh instance, there's no evidence that she, had intended any physical harm to the kid other than "get the hell out of my purse, you N-word."
That's why we should probably look at the definition, because with the definition it says certain things that's said with ethnicity, nationality, race that can be hurtful or abusive. So we all know.
Is the N-word a hate word?
No, hold on. Listen what I'm saying. Hold on. I'm gonna get to you what you said. But what I'm saying is, if you're saying that because you about to kind of make my point, Trey, if you say that type of thing trying to be hurtful, we know there is a term of verbal.
Somebody's intent.
No. But listen what I'm saying. We know that there's a way, but we know that there's a way that you can be verbally abusive, right?
You're trying to determine somebody's intent. You have
that has nothing. But if you say a certain thing a certain way that has to do that, I'm just going off hate speech. We can't change what hate speech means.
Determine somebody's intent.
Now, does that have to do with committing a crime, or what you're trying to figure out what somebody's trying to do?
Okay. So Big App, here's I'm gonna play this thing for you again, but it's not the lady. It's a guy talking about a Ku Klux dude. Let me just play it and listen up. I don't know if you can see it, but listen up to this.
Okay.
And where they made the distinction. Okay.
The First Amendment Constitution reads, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. But just how free should this speech be? The 1969 case of Brandenburg v. Ohio is a prime example. Clarence Brandenburg was the leader of an Ohio chapter of the Ku Klux Klan. While Brandenburg's hateful speech rightly deserves
all right, so he said hateful speech, right? And that's what this guy said. Condemnation.
The court believed that censoring that speech would have been a greater threat to free society. The First Amendment ensures that government remains content neutral. It cannot favor or disfavor one idea, viewpoint, or message over another. Tolerating offensive speech, even so-called hate speech, is the mark of a free society. The only exception is speech that leads directly to violence.
All right, so there's the point. All right, so you saying just hateful shit is protected. I mean, he just said it. But if it leads to violence, then yeah, now you're in that different.
The antidote to hateful speech is more speech. That's how we preserve this most indispensable of freedom.
So there's a distinction that we're trying to make. I don't know if you agree or not, but that's it.
No, and see, that's what I'm saying. I get you playing that, but since we may not be able to see it on the screen right now, would you be able to pull up the definition of hate speech and let the AI like read out the term?
I got it right here.
Yeah,
hate speech is defined as public speech that expresses hate or encourages violence towards a person or group based on characteristics such as race, religion, sex, or sexual orientation. Typically involves offensive discourse targeting individuals or groups and may threaten social peace. Examples of hate speech include slurs, statements promoting malice, stereotypes, and speech intended to incite hatred or violence against a group.
So that's one of the part of what the lady did. That's all I'm saying. If we're going off the hate speech definition, that's all I'm saying. Like I said, my bad. Go ahead.
My question is very simple. Is the N-word a hateful word?
Yep.
Any variation of that word, is it a hateful
From
word?
what it means, yep, exactly.
Okay.
Going directly off the definition, even if, not to cut you off, but real quick, even if I call you my nigga, that is still derogatory.
That's hate speech.
Still same thing. So
Denzel, according to you, one of the most popular lines that Denzel Washington is now going to be known by is hate speech.
Yep. You see how I have no problem agreeing with you when we're talking about facts. So if that's the case, since you're saying that, then that means what that lady did to that allegedly, because like I said, I don't know if that shit real or not. But if we're just going off that, right? Then she pretty much did the same thing, and I have no problem calling out people on my side that do the same thing. That's the difference in me.
So let's jump on this white woman when, according to you, Black people are the most offensive and use the most hate speech more than anybody. Let's jump on her.
I ain't gonna lie. I'm not going to lie to you. If we're going to say that, then we have to be a little more contextual. Then that would mean we're the most disrespectful to ourselves.
Who cares? It doesn't matter.
No, because it's more, because when you say that, we're talking about the N-word and we call each other that, we would be more disrespectful to ourselves, because I would agree. I guarantee you, both of y'all brothers would agree, real quick. Both of you brothers would agree. The biggest issue we have in our community is self-hatred and how we treat each other, not how everybody else treats us. Right?
I agree with that. I do. But wait a minute. But I still don't listen. I don't acquiesce to your hate speech thing without the other part to it. I think I think we could pick and choose definitions all we want, but the full definition has violence in it, has incitement to violence in it, and you're trying to just prune that off.
No, because if when you bring up, this is my thing. If you state that, I can agree with you on that. But once you bring hate crime into it, we're differentiating definition, meanings, and words, because we know words mean something. So if you're going to bring in hate crime versus, real quick, if you're going to bring in hate crime versus hate speech, now we're changing the whole pendulum.
No, I'm not.
I hold on, Payne, I agree with Big Op on this. You're trying to attach an action along with this, and there's a difference between a hate crime and hate speech. If we're talking simply hate speech, that's just the verbiage that comes out of your mouth, not the actual action that comes behind it. In order for there to be a crime, there has to be some sort of energy put behind it. But here, my issue with this is if we are saying that this is hate speech, then nobody uses more hate speech than Black people.
And well, see, let me catch up to you, Trey. Maybe I said it wrong. I don't believe her calling him a nigger is a crime. That's what they're charging her with. It's hate speech, but it's not a crime.
Yeah, now see that I would agree with. That is not a crime. That could be hate speach, but that is not a crime. So that would turn into a hate crime.
Hate speech, it can be.
Yeah, it can be a crime.
Here's my issue. How can you determine her intent? If she just said it out of frustration, is that mean she's trying to incite a riot? She was trying to incite violence? No. So we don't know what her intent was, other than the fact that according to the story, she was frustrated that she saw somebody going through a person to steal something. And I would argue that the guy behind the camera antagonized her.
Does he?
Yeah, and see, I agree, and see, that's what I'm saying. I agree with that because he didn't show a child. No parents came out to say anything. So it's like, okay, that's also what made me think: is this a real video? Because no parents was there. Why was this child by herself, but the mother was there for the other child? So I'm looking at it like there's some bullshit here, and that's why I said if we just go off the video, then that changes the conversation. But we go off in totality, I think it's some bullshit.
Yeah, well. All right, so I think we, I caught up to you guys, but listen, let me kind of continue because the next one I really wanted to talk about is Destiny and what Destiny said. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Trey. What Destiny said on Piers Morgan, and he, as far as I'm concerned, and let me before we move on.
Was on Piers Morgan. That must have been fun.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's still there. Let me ask you a question. Did they ever say why they brought Kimmel back? Is there an explanation?
I tried to. I don't know if you saw it. I tried to put the link in it. It was very vague. They were just like, we sat down, we had a conversation, and decided together that we're just gonna go ahead and bring them back. And I'm like, did he do anything wrong? Did he not? Or y'all saying y'all shouldn't have took political influences, FCC influences? Did y'all really consider anything? Because in my mind, if you're going to be vague like that, it leads me to think, and just in my opinion, y'all was worried about a lawsuit.
Yeah, or like I said, who said it best? What's his name? Michael Jordan. He says even Republicans buy sneakers. So those guys said even liberals watch their TV. True. So if you're going to alienate, half the population because of Kimmel, his ratings were down, and from what I understand, they lose money with his show anyway. Every year. So
my feeling on this is that they brought him back because all the people who canceled their Disney subscriptions. That's what I believe.
Thank you. There you go.
Was it a lot of them that actually canceled?
Yeah, it was a lot.
That's a surprise because his numbers was in the tank. So I'm surprised they did that unless it was like liberals. Just to let y'all guys know, I'm not a liberal, I'm not conservative, or none of that either. But at the same time, I see they bullshit too. So that would surprise me that people would go out of their way to do that when you wouldn't go out of your way to watch this fucking show.
Oh man, if it's liberals, man, they everybody. I mean, people who are have ideologues, no matter what side you are, will go to great lengths for their positions. Right? We have an example of that already, right, with the assassination. So I'm not surprised. And Disney ain't doing that well ever since they went crazy with their woke policy. So I'm, with Netflix just on a tear, by the way, so Disney can't afford to lose those subscribers. That's not a bad point, Trey. It's a lot of subscribers. They put a lot of money into Disney too, and so anyway, let me go ahead and play this little Destiny clip, and I'm not going to play it all, but just enough so we can hit the point on where he goes crazy and says some shit that's really disturbing. Let me do this.
Destiny, you've been quite active on social media since Charlie Kirk's death. When Erica Kirk posted Charlie's coffin, you responded, she tagged him, brackets, crying face emojis. In response to Alina Haber's tweet ordering people to fly their flags a half-mast in memory of Charlie, you posted on X buying flags and poles just to fly them fully erect. And you then posted yesterday, ending every conservative debate call out I do in 2026 with "Don't dodge, bro." That's not what Charlie would have wanted. Do you think that your response to the cold-blooded murder of Charlie Kirk has been appropriate?
Yes. I think that the only way this country moves forward into a better world is when conservatives can finally realize that they need to turn the temperature down on their side. We are 10 years into whatever this Trump madness is, and there is not a single mainstream conservative that will call for a lowering of the temperature on their side. I think that liberals need to wake up and finally realize that if they're not willing to do it, it will never come down. If you wanted Charlie Kirk to be alive, Donald Trump shouldn't have been president for the second term.
All right, let me just stop it there. So, and he goes on to be more explicit, right? He's saying that unless the liberals get what they want, essentially, it's okay for us to kill. It's okay for us to kill you. You know what I mean? It says, I don't know if we lost a big op. You know, he said, I guess he had to pull out.
I've said this before. Their motto is very simple: agree or die. That's their motto. Agree or die. That's just doubling down on it now. You're just doubling down on it.
Tripling down on it. Listen, he got banned off of Twitch, and he got demonetized off of YouTube. Now,
but you know what though? He ain't been right. He ain't been right since his wife left.
I was gonna hit it. I was gonna tell you.
He was very, very open with his sexuality. He identifies as bisexual, and he was with this woman, and I think he thought he was doing the right thing. And Myron and them kept trying to warn him and kept trying to tell him your wife is going to do this. And sure enough, she left him. And he hasn't been right since.
Not at all. Not even close to right at all. I don't know what he was. I don't know what he was thinking, but no, he has not been close to right there.
And he used to be because he's always been liberal,
right?
But he actually had insightful challenge. Like he would challenge you, and it make you go, you know what? He's not actually wrong about that. But now he's so far left.
He's crazy.
It's almost become radicalized.
He's radical. He's radical.
He's gone, yeah, because he used to be. He would have these conversations, and I'd actually enjoy listening to him debate because I thought that what he said was intelligent and was insightful. And he spoke well, and I was like, okay, well, you know, this is a liberal I can at least listen to. He gonna give you something to think about, and he challenged. But ever since we found out that his wife found another meat stick to bounce on, he ain't been right. He has not been right. Bro.
I mean, and the guy was a bum. He didn't have no money. The guy was an absolute bum. I mean, because Destiny, well, you know, I guess he's doing well with his monies and all that. He's sending on these lavish trips, and the guy she moved in was an absolute bum. He was a freeloader. So he's long stroking her ass, and she used to come on podcasts all the time talking about how she's freewheeling and all that kind of stuff, and she
how she had another boyfriend, and he was okay with it. I say this all the time: white men are cunts, and people think I'm crazy, but white men are cunts. White men have no problems loaning their wife out to another man. It's not a big deal to them. But he hasn't been right. And this particular comment that he made. Look, the best thing that happened, I think, coming out of Charlie Kirk's death is people put their cards down on the table, and now we know where you're coming from now.
People have been exposed.
Yeah. I think they've been exposed. We know what you think about what happened, whether you agree with what happened to him or not. To me, is irrelevant. Whether you mourn it, it's irrelevant to me. I don't care if you mourn him. I don't know the guy. Like I said, I don't know the guy. And I didn't always agree with everything he said, but I don't think anybody should be shot in the neck for it. That's crazy to me. That's just insane.
I mean, he goes on and on. Even Anna Kasparian, who was Miss Liberal before, she's like in the middle now. They were going back and forth at it, but he just kept double down. He said, listen, if you guys don't, if Trump doesn't say something, then it's okay for us to do this. And I said, man, you do that.
But to blame a death on the president that's insane. And I think this is what Kimmel was getting at. Like Kimmel was trying to say, like, hey, like he would be alive if it wasn't for like Mac. And it's like, no, that's got nothing to do. That's not how this works. Like,
that's not how it works. He should be alive regardless of MAGA. I mean, you know, we can't just settle our differences because you don't get what you want. And so you eliminate the opposition. That's what they're saying. You know, we just eliminate the opposition and that's it.
Dead men tell no tales. Is their
And too
philosophy
many
now.
of them are like that on that side. I mean, you know, and you could come up and say there's no equivalency. Like, for example, they say that, you know, now that the Republicans, the red people have, you know, the 3 houses of Congress and they have the levers of control, that they want to put their own brand of censorship in. And you know what? That's not a lie. But when the Democrats were in charge, they did it too. Man. They
did the same thing.
They did the same thing. And you know, they talk about lawfare. I mean, nobody was doing lawfare better than the Democrats. Right? They put a whole bunch of people in jail for what they believed in, man. They were throwing them in jail. They came after Trump with full barrels, you know.
Well, one of the reasons why the UK is where they are is off of that Biden administration. It came off. That's why the UK is where they are with their lack of free speech now and arresting people for having an opinion. Apparently, it's insane.
Crazy. Matter of fact, they should be put on a no-fly list. I wouldn't even want to go to the UK.
Nah.
Yeah, man, forget about that, man. They're really draconian. And one of the problems they have is what we see. What we need to do is we need to see their immigration policy and what happens in unfettered immigration. That's another thing. They have complete towns that have been taken over by Sharia law. And one of the things, and in our country, like in Michigan and in Minneapolis, Sharia law is because they're winning elections. And one of the things that's helping them win elections is the liberals, white women liberals, and the liberals are, and I think women are crazy. Sharia law, they can kill you for honor killing. They have honor killing in Sharia. I believe in Sharia law. They have honor killing. Yeah. And so these white women and all of them saying, you think you're a feminist now. You know, and so the way the Muslims take over countries is they infiltrate from inside because they never assimilate. You know, and so they had the mayor of Minneapolis learn Arabic so he could talk to his constituents. He's like bending the knee up. And I'm saying, wait a minute. Wait a second. Ilhan Omar is actually a spy, a spy in plain sight.
She's CIA written all over it.
Man, she is. I mean, either she's a double agent or, you know, she just hates America, but she make a good double agent because, man, she hates
You can't tell which side she's on.
Oh, man, she hates this place.
Yeah, this is, again, I think the biggest thing that will come out of his death here is, like I said, a lot of people, we know where you stand.
They know where you stand.
We know where you stand now.
You definitely.
We know what you think. And again, I wouldn't wish death on anybody, even the people I don't like the most. I wish torture on you, but I wouldn't wish death on you. You know what I mean? But like this entire thing is just really, like I said, it's exposed me. It's exposed Black people, it's exposed white people, it's exposed women, it's exposed men, it's exposed everybody. We know now where you stand. I thought one of the better videos was the guys who were walking down the street and were asking people, like literally right as they found out, you know, what they think, and that people, you know, a lot of the white female liberals was like, I don't care, and you know, I'm glad he's gone, and it's just like, wow. And what we've seen here in this country now is there is and always will be a lack of compassion, a lack of sympathy, and a lack of empathy. It's gone. We don't have it in this country anymore, and I think that's what happens when a country moves towards a more gynocratic type of way.
I don't disagree. I agree with you. I agree. The logic is going out the window. It's out the window, man. And you know, that's a whole nother show. I think women in strategic spots who are not conservative. I mean, some of them still have spots, but liberal women are. You can't have a society run by liberal women. You just cannot have a. And then you put liberal Black women in charge. Oh shit! Listen, you know what? I should do a show, and I just hate to do it because I'm not one. I got 30 Black women who are recent Black women from 2019 who were mayors, AGs, all the top things, right? And they all fumbled the bag. Jail time, lying, embezzlement, you know,
Fired, terminated,
stroking their employees, you know, the whole 9 yards. And the names you would know. There's names you would know. And we just got a couple more. And the fact is that Trump fired his guy because he won't come after Letitia James.
Yeah,
right?
I saw that.
But
Yeah.
she's done the same thing. You know, she prosecuted Trump with a whisper of criminality. She had to make shit up. And her transgressions are right there in paper, and the guy won't prosecute her. So he says, no. I want to punish this chick.
He's also going after the black chick on the Federal Reserve Board too. He want her
But
too.
I think she got saved. But sure, but she was trying. See, that's my point. I think, you know, they're trying to minimize her malfeasance, right? Because it's right there in black and white. And, you know, and they figured if they come after her and they start looking underneath the covers for everybody else, you know, they'll find some shit. They're all taken care of. One thing about black people, you can't do what they do. You can't do what they do. So I was just going to tell people, like, if you're working, learn what the First Amendment in terms of free speech means. You know, you have the right to say whatever the hell you want, but you have to understand it's going to cost you depending on where your position's at. You know, when
the other part is this too. You learn something as a child. You know, you don't have to say it.
Yeah,
it's not necessary for you to share your opinion. Just go to work and do your job, especially in today's economy, and especially if you're a black woman with how 350,000 plus of y'all done got fired. I would think that you would just shut up and go to work.
Shut up. You know, and even this on the whole, hey, Crimson Cure has a good live today on that particular thing about him being fired. She was in rare form today, so that might be a good thing to go back and watch if you want to hear about. She was talking about DEI and how, you know, the white women were protected, and they're the number one people who benefit from it.
Because it was designed for them.
Absolutely.
And that's the part. And this is where Charlie Kirk got into a lot of issues with people. Is he was trying to explain this without actually saying it, like, hey, they kind of built it for us. This entire thing, the structure of DEI was built for them, just like feminism.
Yes.
Feminism wasn't for y'all. It was white women who were going and saying, I want to get paid the same as my husband. And then you guys said, you know what? That sounds like a good idea. We should get paid the same too.
Yeah, and just for ourselves, we don't give a shit about the husband.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It went from equality to supremacy, and now we have chaos. Right? Now we have chaos. But this entire thing, they built this thing on the backs of y'all.
That's right.
They knew black women were going to go for it.
Give her the bullhorn. Give her the battery and the bullhorn.
Just so they can give it to them.
Yep. And they'll champion it till they die at their own death.
They still begging for it, even with all the proof, with all the evidence that we keep showing you, like, hey, white women benefited the most from this. White women got positions. White women are keeping their positions. Meanwhile, y'all are getting fired. White women are getting promoted. Even meanwhile, y'all are getting fired. It was built on the backs of y'all for them. I still ain't figured it out yet. No, they want more. But we need to bring it back. And I keep trying to explain to you, a lot of y'all black women were kicking white women's ass on meritocracy. You were better, just flat out better than them. And if y'all had just stuck with that, y'all would be where y'all needed to be. But instead, you wanted a handout. You want to know why? Because they conditioned you that way for decades, that you're supposed to get a handout. They've conditioned you this way.
Right.
So you think, oh, well, why aren't they giving us things?
And
it's crazy.
Once you get, listen, and they put you in those positions, and whole organizations are going away. So if you saw a DEI department, it was filled with black women. If and funny thing is, they might not even be in charge of it, right? They might be the workers, and a white person got shifted over to another branch, and the whole DEI department got ixnayed, and so all the workers did too. So it's the grift is bad, but you know what? that 92% of black women still ain't hearing it. And those same liberal white women, no matter what they say, because Gloria Steinem, as bad as she was, she had a husband, right? And
Most feminists went home to their husbands.
Yeah, when they lost their jobs, a lot of white women lost their job too in this thing, but they had another salary because they were married. They had husbands.
They weren't stupid enough to be single
and talking shit. I don't need you. I mean, so I just don't. Listen. I'm telling you, man. I don't know what the end is, other than I just was gonna say. I remember when I used to work. When I was working, right, I used to take extended lunches. Everybody knew where I was. I was like the guys at the bar. The thing I did that a lot of people didn't do, I always took leave. I always had my leave. The leave, if I wanted an hour and a half or 2 hours, I took the leave. And it was already there before I left, right? So I never got audited, nothing, because I know they looked at my shit behind the scenes. I never gave them any. I've seen people getting in trouble for that, but I never got any calls, anything, because I got my work done. And if I needed more time at lunch as opposed to the half hour they gave me, I was taking it. And so I never got any problem. So I just tell people, you have to be above reproach on your job. So if you got political leanings, and we all do, you can't just, you need to shut up about it. And the fact is, every single person needs their job. So how could you put your free speech above the fact that you need to be employed? And so many people do it. And now they're crying on social media. Could be, I mean, if you want to have fun just looking at people cry, it's a masochist, it's a sadist dream. All you gotta do is go to TikTok and just keep plucking on these things and watch this one cry, that one cry, this one cry. It's a shame, man. If I was just say anybody who's listening to the few people who listening to this, man, shut your goddamn mouth if you need your job. You can't use social media.
Which is everybody.
Right, which is everybody. You can, if you're around your own dinner table, make sure one of your kids is not the ops. Make sure one of your kids ain't the ops. And then you can say whatever the hell you want. Maybe your wife is the ops. Maybe your husband's the ops. But shut up, man. And just live your life.
We live in a society where that viral moment is important.
Yeah.
I want to have that viral moment. I want to have that moment where I say something and 6 million people see it. And it's like, but if 600 people see it and you lose your job, was it worth it? Because here's what I know. You know that I've been a staunch advocate that everybody needs to have 24 months of emergency funds. I've been saying this over and over again. After coming after COVID, it used to be 6 months. I bumped it up and said maybe a year. But then coming after COVID, I said, nah, I think you need 2 years. I am seeing so many videos of Black women on TikTok talking about, I've been out interview after interview after interview after interview, and nobody's hiring. They're either overqualified because they got a PhD, an MBA, and a CBA, and a KBA, and they got all these degrees and all this other stuff. So they're overqualified for the low wage jobs, and then the high wage jobs, ain't nobody calling them back. So they stuck in between, and a lot of these women are starting to run out of their unemployment. So now what are you gonna do? Now you're in trouble.
And you're alone. And you're alone.
And you don't have you don't have any backup. You don't have a backup. So what would have happened, what would have helped is if you had a 24 months, a 24 months emergency fund that could help you get along for 2 years, just until you can secure another job, and the climate might change. But I'm telling you guys, as somebody who studies the markets every day, who knows the VIX are like the back of his hand at this point in time, markets are doing well.
Yes, they are.
Markets are doing well.
Yes, they are.
So y'all in trouble because there's no panic. You're talking about, there's panic. What panic? The VIX is 15. It's below 20. Meaning markets are good. They're in a good place. It's above 20. 20 would be a neutral number. Anything above 20 would signal that the markets are going down.
Okay.
It's at 15.8 last I checked. Means the markets are doing well. So I say all that to say these corporations aren't in a position where they feel like they gotta hold on tight. They can afford to let you go.
So we're talking about the difference between Main Street and Wall Street, right? So I think one of the things is the disconnect is that people, it's still very few people in Main Street who actually invest, right? Outside of maybe their 401, right? So they don't understand that the people who do invest and the big money people, all that shit is invested. They're living off of passive income, pretty much. So I tell people, let's ride the wave. I tell my daughters as well, they got to, they live off of their expenses and they still have enough money to invest for their future. And I say, do that.
But this is why it's important that we have that financial education. And when you do have a job, stop looking at a job as I can now pay my bills. You should be looking at a job as I can now build for my future.
Yes.
That's how this should work. That's how I took it, Payne. When I was in the military, that's how I took it. No, I'm putting this money away so that if I sacrifice now, I won't have to work later. I've always thought like that, delayed gratification. If I sacrifice now, it sucks. It sucks being 22 years old and being in Turkey and all your friends are going out for drinks and you're not because you're saving money. It sucks. Trust me. It sucks to have a hot girl call you and say, hey, come on, let's go out tonight. And you're like, nah, I can't do it because you're delaying gratification because you don't want to spend the money because all your money is tied up in investments. We have to get people to understand. We have to get people to understand that your job isn't just stop living paycheck. How many hundred people who have $100,000 salary? And one of these days, I should do a breakdown of why $100,000 salary is nothing at this point.
People have it. Depends on where you live. Yeah. That's where the bulk of $100,000 salaries, and he can't even afford that because of where you live.
We're talking about maybe $5,000 a month, maybe a little bit more. After taxes?
After taxes,
after Social Security, after Medicaid, maybe
that might even be generous, but depending on the person's expense levels. And usually people live above their means.
And that's just disposable income. I don't think you have anything for discretionary income at that point. I think after you pay all your expenses, car notes, auto insurance, your life insurance, your health insurance, your rent or your mortgage, cell phone, cable, internet, food.
Yeah.
We got people making $100,000 a year and they're living paycheck to paycheck. I was in the stream earlier and there was a guy who was like, yeah, I make $110,000 a year. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. So you have a job. First of all, do not say anything that would jeopardize that because you need it. Because the economy is not going to help you keep it. And number two, you need to be putting every little going out. You ain't got no money to go out. Hang out. You ain't got no money to hang out. That's what I'm saying. I know this isn't a financial show, but I'm making the point that you have to be prepared for what's coming. You weren't prepared. All these liberals who knew they were going to vote for Biden were never prepared for a Trump presidency. If it was coming, you never thought that he was gonna win, and yet here you are, and now you want to blame everything on Trump. Well, the economy gas is down where I'm at. Gas is down where I'm at. I'm happy. I'm fine. But if you were prepared for these things and then you compound your problems by going to work and writing nonsense on social media that's going to get you fired, that doesn't make any sense.
Not at all, man. It's crazy. And I guess I wonder if, and the thing is, I don't think that people are learning their lesson. I don't think they're learning their lesson. I mean, how many examples do you have to know that, you got to be, depending on where you are in life, you got to be careful. You got to protect what you have, and, so I would just say
a little bit that you have.
A little bit that you have. Exactly. And, so I remember, man, when this shit started happening, even before, I told my one daughter doesn't have any social media presence at all, but my oldest does.
She's smart.
She's
a smart one in the family, I guess, huh?
She look at me like I'm crazy when I talk about this shit. I made a mistake and said unalive at the dinner table. She said, listen, you talking like these assholes on the she didn't say asshole. She didn't say asshole. She said, look, you so indoctrinated, you can't even, the real word is that, you kill somebody. I said, man, just leave me alone. I'm still your father.
Because the idea is, okay, can I exercise my First Amendment right? Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
The question is it worth it? Can you handle what comes behind it? And the truth of the matter is, what Kevin Hart say in that joke, the way my bank account set up, the way your bank account set up, you can't afford to use the freedom of speech. You just,
Right.
you know what you should say? Hey, I pray for his family and leave it at that.
And leave it at that.
And
And that's what everybody should be saying anyway. I pray for his family and leave it. For me, I just thought it was a bigger blow, not a bigger blow, but a blow for the country. Because if we did, I was alive in the 60s. I remember they were picking off people. I was young, but I remember from Medgar Evers all the way to Malcolm X and Fred Hampton and everybody in between, the presidents, his brother, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. That's all in the 60s. They were knocking people off because of the way they thought and the positions they had. And that wasn't a fun time in this country, man. So, and now with where social media is and the fact that we're 24/7, can you imagine they just start bumping people off like the people in Minnesota? Guy dressed up like a cop. He's bumping people off. People open the door, the cop, they see a uniform, they automatically say, "Oh, what's going on?" Doors open, blam. I'm surprised anybody survived. So I'm telling you, man, it's just
my message is always going to be the same. Just because you can't say it doesn't mean, and even me, and I have to bite my tongue, and I don't really bite my tongue. You know what I mean? That's not something I'm known for.
Right.
Bite my tongue. But there have been times where I've had to bite the inside of my cheek because this ain't the time.
This ain't the time.
This isn't the time. And it's not, to me, just looking at things, it's not worth it if you are not in a financial position where you can afford to take the hit. Jimmy Kimmel can do this. He made millions of dollars.
Right.
He's gonna be fine.
He's gonna be fine.
Right? And he's gonna go get some of his who-ish lawyers, and they're gonna go sit down and they're gonna talk about it. Right? I'm sure a part of that probably happened. He went and got some of his who-ish lawyers. Yeah. They went and had a conversation with Disney about, well, what do you really want to do here? I'm sure that happened. Right? You know what I mean? But if you're not in a position where you can afford to take, because it's looking like if you get fired now, you're looking at automatic 6 months before you can even get close to sniffing a job. You're going to be laid off for 6 months at least.
At least, and not only that, you starting from the beginning on your new job. Which
is stupid.
All that stuff, man. Think about it. You're the low guy on the totem pole, and you're 40 years old.
You worked hard to get there.
Yeah.
You're just gonna give it all away because you wanted to go write something on your social media. That's stupid.
It's dumb, man.
It's dumb.
Anyway, so hey, man, listen, man. So let me go to final words, man, because this was going to be a short one. I'm glad you guys came up, Big Op. Oh, he's back. He's back. He wants some more. What's going on, man? You back? Let me see. All right. You got some. We're gonna go through some final thoughts, man. So go ahead, Big Op. You got some final thoughts, man? Now that you back, or what you got? Can you hear me? Big Op, can you hear me?
Hold on, my internet acting up. My bad. I'm back. So I wish we can keep having more productive conversations like this. And no disrespect to you, Trey. That's why I was trying to stay on. Let's stick to the definition, or let's stick to what the video showed, because I don't want to keep bumping heads with my own people. You know what I'm saying? Because what kind of conversation can we really have, or how can we fix things? Because I'm sure y'all brothers having this conversation. Maybe y'all do things in y'all community. I've done things in my community, still try to. So I want to make sure we keep having this intelligent conversation, because you know how they say, if somebody sees two people arguing, they can't tell who the fool is. I don't want it to keep being that same thing with us. You know what I'm saying? The name calling and all that. And it's like, let's just make sure that, you know what I mean, we able to keep being productive. So I'm glad we had this conversation, being able to talk about, whatever thoughts is on the table. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully, God willing, going forward, more brothers and sisters can keep doing this.
You got it. Hey, man, so we're here, man. I'm here every Monday at 7 o'clock, man. So got different topics every talk. I try to find something worth talking about, So just to let you know, 7 o'clock Eastern, I'm here pretty much every Monday. Trey, what you got, man? I see what you put in it. Hey, let me. Now that you put these symbols in this, what's the difference between QQ and QQ?
I know I like to give y'all. I like to give y'all some sauce. I know I love the stock market. It's one of my favorite things in the world. It helped me retire early in my life, and I can just kind of sit around and do nothing now. Chill. But the ticker symbols that I put in the chat. Let me first off by saying this is not financial advice. It's not financial advice from Black Man Unfiltered Network. It's not financial advice. This is meant to be educational and entertainment for entertainment use only. Now that we got the disclaimer, those are ticker symbols for ETFs for AI. AI ETFs. They're going to be ETFs that are going to be in the markets of AI. One of them is for quantum computing. No AI you're going to have is not going to have quantum computing. As a matter of fact, quantum computing is pretty much going to take over because all the AI is going to be quantum computing. So if you see one that says QTUM, that's for quantum computing. Put these ticker symbols in there for you guys to take a look at when you get a chance, and maybe you might want to invest in some of them. The reason why I'm telling you this is because there's a report that came out that shows that over the next 10 years, the AI sector is going to grow about 36% per year over the next 10 years. So there's an opportunity for growth here if you want to get into the AI field, if you want to get into the AI world. I believe in using ETFs because you don't have to go through and pick out each company. They do the hard work for you. All you got to do is buy the shares. So I give you, I think I gave you seven. I think I gave you seven. I think it's seven, right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Go research.
7. I gave you seven different ETFs for you to go do your research. I'm telling you, go do your research, but this will help you get pointed in the right direction. If AI is something you were looking, an industry you were looking to get into, these are some of them. And I think on Mondays, if Payne will allow me, I think I'll come here and just give you guys a little golden nugget if that's something you want. But I thought that was something
that's fine. That's fine.
That would be useful to the group. Yeah, I thought that would be useful to the group.
Yeah, okay. Hey, what's the difference between QQQM and QQQI? And do all these pay dividends?
I don't know. I don't know which ones pay dividends.
Okay.
Because I haven't looked. I didn't look at them for the purpose of if they pay dividends. I looked at them to see
for growth.
What they were doing in the for growth, for what they were doing in the AI fields. And I was looking to see basically what companies, and I kept noticing a theme that a lot of these ETFs were picking the same companies. You know what I mean? They're not necessarily overlapping, but they're because you need semiconductors. You need a host of things to make AI work. And a lot of these companies were these ETFs were investing in those companies. And I needed to make it simple. I needed to condense it because there's a lot of them, and there's going to be more. There's a new AI company probably popping up every day. So there's going to be more. So I needed to condense them. So this is just for you guys to do your research. Like I said, write them down. If you get a chance, go do your research. Maybe some you like, maybe some you don't like. Maybe you don't like any of them at all. But at least if you were looking to get into the AI area, here's a few ticker symbols.
There ain't nothing wrong getting a watch list together. And so as far as I'm concerned, this is cool. One of the things I have definitely AI and quantum. I got QBTS, but there's a couple other things too. Silver is on a tear because it's used in everything, and of course, I think they've been gaming the market because I think silver should be much higher than it is right now. So other than that, man. All right, so listen, this was a good thing, but I hopefully folks got a little bit more on the First Amendment and free speech and what it is and what it ain't, and if we can help people not do something stupid, let's do that. Thanks for folks who got in the chat. Big up, where we're going to be every Monday at 7. Thanks, Trey, for coming up. And with that, man, I'm gonna just go ahead and end the show, bro. BMU, thanks a lot again for everybody who's out there, man. Just make sure y'all hit the like button, all that on the way out. And remember to look at these symbols, and I guess you can get them on the replay or whatever. So I'll talk to you later.